welcome to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, they made how many of those? And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with
Elizabeth Helly
and
Tyler Hymanson.
And we are back for Bad Boys 2. Yes. Exciting. Bayhem is in full effect this week. As we talk about our first sequel of 2020.
Everyone thought that Pearl Harbor was dumb and loud, and Michael Bay said, yeah, it was.
Here's some more. But before we get going, if you guys want to reach out and let us know some ideas for, sequels that we could tackle, Eliz, where can people get in touch with us?
Yes, please send us an email at sequelrights@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sequel Rights.
And please rate and review us on Apple Podcast. 5 stars, if you please. It goes a long way for the algorithms. Feed the algorithm with stars.
And this week, we always hate doing the podcast by ourselves. So we have brought in a special guest friend of the show, Joseph Butler, here with us.
Hi, everybody.
Hey!
Great to be here.
We got a genuine bad boy in the house. Well, you know what? Why don't we just get right into this?
Since 9/11, we've gone high-tech over the water, so the dope runners have gone low. The biggest shipment on record is coming in tonight, and we want to know who's behind it.
What can go wrong with that? With you alive. I can't be in a gunfight every day.
We just want to talk. You want to talk? Look, go. They can't hear you because they're still shooting at you.
You all right, man? Bullets, man. Oh, excuse me.
You didn't tell Marcus about us.
No.
Mike, he's my brother, okay? Don't be scared.
Whoa, hey, I ain't say I was scared. Just something wrong with your brother. Mike, did you notice when we left, everybody was dead? No, we didn't kill the one dude. This has got to be the worst, most emotional cop week of my life. Yeah, it's been a little rough.
That was long.
Yeah, I know. Well, I wanted to get the full, detail of the plot in there, so we don't have to repeat it for you.
It's proportional to runtime.
That's true. Oh, man.
This movie is long, you guys. Oh,
I was
boy.
coming down to the wire on this movie, and I was like, 2 hours and 20 minutes? No. Not good.
I don't remember it being, I remember seeing it in theaters. It was like, that was amazing.
Oh, yeah, same. I don't remember it being long at all.
Yeah.
I don't think I checked my watch once in the theater.
No.
So you guys have all seen this before?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I rewatched it recently, but yeah.
Okay.
This came out, so the first one is 1995, and this one is all the way to 2003, and it was like the summer right as I graduated high school, and so this is like perfect.
We were the target audience.
Exactly.
Of
this
movie.
is like perfect spot for me. Some friends of mine and I, we watched the first movie, and then we went to go see this in theaters, and there was stuff in this movie that I was talking about for weeks afterwards, because I was like, that was so awesome, oh my God. Watching it now, I was like, is the movie done yet? But okay. a little bit. What about you, Joseph?
I probably saw it on cable in 2007 or something like that.
Yeah.
A couple of years after it came out. But I remember liking it. Mm-hmm. And then rewatching it, I'm like, I don't remember liking this.
You're like,
Maybe I don't remember liking this. Maybe I remember liking the first one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is funny, I had that experience of, you hear, it's like the stand-up comedy trope of just my girlfriend doesn't like action movies, she thinks they're boring, and it's like, well, how could they think it's boring? It's like, oh, no, I get it.
Oh, because they're 2.5 hours long.
And it's just all these crazy quick cuts, and people are just shooting at nothing, and it's just like... that being said, I think that as sequels go, this one is one of the more justifiable ones that we have covered.
Is this like Michael Bay's Terminator 2?
Yes.
He goes from Bad Boys to Bad Boys 2, and everything is upped.
Yes.
The all the action scenes in this are insane.
Yes.
And you're immediately oh, I see where Transformers comes from. And all this stuff.
Because this is post-Armageddon. Pearl Harbor was 2001, and this was 2003.
Yeah.
Which it is crazy, how much... 2003 does not, I remember it does not seem that long ago, but it's almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how this movie, which felt like it was the cutting edge of everything, feels a little dated.
It does, for sure.
It looks a little dated.
Yeah, but I think it's like definitely a kinder, gentler Michael Bay than the very first one. Like, or he's at least listening to other people that are like, hey, how about some character development? Or like, how about one female character that says things, you know, like, or or like, let's actually explore the relationship between these two guys instead of just brushing past it or whatever.
One pretty what ends up being pretty consequential female character for the universe and the franchise. She's got her own show now, so pretty cool. He still has, you know, a moment to put in his own M. Night Shyamalan moment where he shows up in the movie.
Yeah, he does make fun of himself a little bit, driving I think it's a shitty Volkswagen, wearing like a Smash Mouth hat.
Yeah, which I thought was funny.
This movie has some very interesting people in it, and it starts right out the gate with Michael Shannon and Henry Rollins.
Yes.
Yeah.
I totally
crazy.
forgot Michael
Awesome.
Shannon was in this.
Yeah. I remember Henry Rollins being in it, but Michael Shannon was like...
Golden Globe award-winning actor Michael Shannon is here to play a KKK member for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. The movie starts out like a How It's Made episode on ecstasy. You could do like a British voiceover and be like, first they take the pills and put them through the pill sorting machine, and then they put it on a boat in it's like the same thing. It's so many like weird like quick cuts, and then it's like, oh, they're in a casket, and then they put the caskets in the water, and I was like, is this really how this is done?
It seemed like a lot for ecstasy. I was like, isn't ecstasy like $5? Like, is it really that like intense of a drug trade? Like, are the big time drug dealers really dealing with ecstasy? I don't know. Maybe.
That's what I thought.
I feel like back then, though, remember this is 2003.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
that was when all the raves were happening, and like before kids were really overdosing on them, at least in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, well,
yeah, and ecstasy is like not a smart drug product to really get into because it's not addictive, really. Like it could be, but yeah, like
I guess it's like I do wonder like how much of the actual drug trade was trafficking in ecstasy. But if you're a screenwriter in 2003, like that's definitely the hot drug.
The hot new drug. Yeah,
that's the drug that you're writing about. So
hot new drug.
Well, I don't even know if it's new.
Cocaine
at the time.
and heroin are so spent.
So in 80s and 90s.
Yeah. I just the opening is so over the top. It's like they're immediately dealing with like Navy SEALs, and like they've got this boat that can like camouflage itself in the water.
They're trying to make the Coast Guard look cool. Like, that's a lot.
Oh, well, that's getting into Michael Bay's partnership with basically being a armed forces commercial. Which is his long storied career. But the thing I do really like about this opening is it's almost like a James Bond like cold open, where it's like this just dropping you into this crazy action sequence. You don't even know what's really happening. But Will Smith and Mike Lowry and Marcus are undercover as Klansmen. They come out and they get to fuck up a bunch of racists, which is always fun.
That's always good to see. Yeah.
and also because I feel like P. Diddy was like an executive producer.
Yeah.
And also some of the music was done by Dr. Dre. So it all really kind of feels like it was shot like a music video of that time, the early 2000s, you know what I mean? Like shades of red and blue on opposite sides of the faces and like...
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about that is that the red and blue on the opposite side of faces is the Art Center look, which is the college that I went to, the college that Michael Bay went to, and if you ever see it, it is the thing that came out of everybody's reel. It's Tar Sim, Zack Snyder, all of those guys just have that look, and so every single time you see it, it's like, oh, like that's, and literally everybody that I went to school with, their short film, had the exact same thing, like 15 years later.
Yeah. And this soundtrack I remember really well, and it was also like super popular. Like the album was #1, and the Shake Your Tail Feather won a Grammy.
Is that like from this movie?
Yeah, from this movie.
I mean, obviously I'm aware of that song, but I didn't realize that this was like the first.
And like, yeah, this is just like stupid, but like, being like I went to church and all this stuff growing up, white kid in the Midwest. This might have been the first like album that I bought that was like, maybe I kind of like some rap music. Because I definitely had this on CD, and I was like, oh, that Shake Your Tail Feather song is so good.
Would you say that you're Your gateway drug was the Godzilla soundtrack with the
that might have been that
because I'm
that's
sure
true.
you owned that too.
I do have that
bet you.
soundtrack too.
Hey, but you already had the Dirty Dancing Havana Nights. That had a little flavor in it.
That's true. And then I went Bad Boys, and then I went into like Fast and Furious, and like it never stopped.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, this one I definitely had on CD, and I listened to it a lot.
Did you put one of those labels on it that was like from the library? Justin
I might have, yeah. If I took it with me to college, yeah.
That's hilarious. No, this soundtrack's awesome. It was in my car probably that whole summer.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, one of the beats between like just for a background beat for a scene done by Dre ended up being a game song being used by the game on one of his albums.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Megan, my wife.
Yeah,
you all know her.
Yeah,
she was like, "This is a game song," and I was like, yeah. What? And Game didn't come out till like I don't know. 2005 or 6.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Got
a couple years later.
That's
and
crazy.
Game was probably just like, "Hey Trey, remember that song from Bad Boys 2?
Yeah. There's like
I want that beat."
Yeah. I was like, there is someone who did the score for this movie, but it is a lot of just like instrumental beats in between scenes, which I think is awesome, and I'm glad that P. Diddy was involved and stuff, and that really
and Dre too. Like when I was like, oh shit! Like I didn't realize that as I was. I mean, because I was again a dumb white kid from the Southwest.
Yep. and they get like huge credits in the opening, which was really awesome and smart on the studio or whoever set that up. Very smart.
So yeah, we're getting into the ecstasy bust, but they only get 2 bags. Which is, there was supposed to be this giant bust. It's the same thing where the bad boys should have had more drugs.
They should have.
That's every plot in these movies. It's like, we thought there'd be more drugs.
You wasted our time.
Or they blow up like a bunch of cars, kill a bunch of people, and then they're like, oh, we killed all the witnesses. Whoops.
Yeah.
Let's go bully our tech guy. That'll be the next lead.
Yeah.
We're so bad at this.
They are pretty bad.
Maybe we call ourselves the Bad Boys.
Yeah. Like, what version of bad do you mean? Yeah. Just like you suck? Or
yeah, we're bad detectives. We're bad police officers.
Bad boys.
It does facilitate Joey Pants coming out and yelling, which I always enjoy. Like, we got detectives detecting shit over there.
His shirts get more and more Miami every time we see him, too. By the end, he's wearing, like, a hot pink.
And like rewatching this week, like one of the things I really remember too with this was this whole weird like thread of the woosah like therapy thing. I was just like, and watching it now, I'm like, this is just so weird.
Yeah.
Why were they all doing the same thing? And it's like it like comes back multiple times in the movie. They're like woosah. And I was like, was this some weird trend or something going on at the time?
I mean, like the whole thing of, wow, we've had so many TV shows about these cops that do all this stuff, and at this time they're probably at the point where they're like, let's make the cop go to mandatory therapy on all of these TV shows, and then they're like, oh, well, so let's do it in the movie too.
Right.
I tried to look up woosah to see if it was a real like meditation technique, but most of the things that you find are pictures of Martin Lawrence, saying woosah, like GIFs and stuff.
That makes sense.
Apparently, like there's some version of it that is a real like breathing thing.
Yeah, they must have pulled it from somewhere.
Yeah, they had to.
Yeah. I don't think they're doing it right.
No.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like they both have secrets in this, and the secret that Martin Lawrence has is, I've been going to therapy, and I think I'm going to get a transfer. Mm-hmm. And the secret that Will Smith has is that he is in a relationship with his Martin Lawrence's newly introduced little sister.
What's her name again?
Sid.
Oh yeah. It's Gabrielle Union.
Yes.
Yep. And she's great.
She's pretty awesome in this movie.
She gets to do a few things, and she gets a little sidelined at the very end.
She's okay.
But she's fun.
She gets kidnapped.
She does, yeah. But then there's a scene towards the end where it's like she's in the car with them, but it's just all focused on Mike and Mark.
And then he's like, everybody else just shoot at something.
Yeah, it's just funny. The movie so far, like, okay, so we've seen the beginning of the movie. It starts with that, like, they have that same shot of like a helicopter going over the Miami sign, and we've seen lots of the same stuff.
He also has that same shot in Pain and Gain. Like, he loves that shot in Miami,
and I think they do it in the pilot for LA's Finest too.
There you go.
Very similar, except that's in LA. one of the first shots we get that's like, oh, Michael Bay is like up in his game. Is this crazy like. There's this crazy shot of like the camera flying up a building and then in through the vents, and then you're like, oh, suddenly we're in this club and it's a sprinkler club, and like all the sprinklers are on, people are having a good time, and oh, here's Ecstasy, and it like goes all around and then goes up through this like window in the floor, and I was just like, what is happening? This crazy shot.
I thought it was pretty cool because the drugs get there and then they're like, all right, distribute the ecstasy. Everyone's like taking ecstasy on the dance floor.
It must have been a flat
girls
fee.
like getting it out on their tongue and like, take some drugs.
I was like, do you want to be at a club where this fire sprinklers are on?
Do you think so? Is the business transaction here that Peter Stormare, the Russian owner of this club, is buying the ecstasy because everyone knows like this is the club you can go to have ecstasy, or is somebody there? Like, it doesn't seem like anybody is paying for it once it's in the club.
I feel like there were little shots of them exchanging.
Yeah, there was some money,
a
little bit. Okay,
that one lady exchanges it and then hands it out to like 6 people.
Yeah,
charitable drug use.
There you go. This is kind of fucked up though because somebody does OD, and they're just like somebody thinks he can. Peter Stormare, he was kind of great in this movie.
Yeah,
is like this asshole thinks he can die in my club.
So tight.
So what they do is they just grab him and throw him out into the street,
which is exactly the same thing that happens at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Someone's having a heart attack. Call him out.
That's cold, man.
Nobody can die on.
See, they just let this dude die in the gutter.
Yeah, that was really messed up. They like throw him out of a van, and it's like, oh,
yeah.
sad.
I mean, I'm no
Grandma
expert,
thinks she can
though,
die on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Not on my watch.
I mean, this all
open
takes
the gates
place,
to actual hell.
You better die fast.
This all takes place in like 10 minutes, but like it takes like an hour for ecstasy to kick in, I think. Like,
well, no, it was in the sprinklers too.
oh, okay. Got it.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Well, yeah, so ecstasy is kind of the drug at the center of this. We do get a sequence where Martin Lawrence is on ecstasy.
Oh my god, that was kind of funny.
It's every stereotype joke about ecstasy.
It's a sitcom episode where like somebody gets dosed and they're just acting funny.
It follows a really long scene at a mortuary where I was like, okay, maybe they could have like dug through like 6 less bodies, and this movie would have maybe been 2 hours instead.
Yeah, but you got to see the girl with really huge boobs.
That's right. You know, we talked the last movie like, oh, it's rated R, but you know, there's all these girls, but they never showed anyone naked. Yeah. And I was like thinking that for a lot of this movie too. And then I was like, oh well, now they have a naked corpse, and they call her a
she's
bimbo.
Dead.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
If it's a dead body, it's non-sexual nudity, so I think you can.
Yeah,
keep
but
the
they make
rating
it
low.
sexual the entire time.
They do make it sexual, but yeah.
Yeah, Martin Lawrence
If
actually
it's
calls
not
him
in a
out.
sex scene, yeah.
You're still looking.
Yeah.
The way our rating systems work, like if it's not boobs that are actively involved in having sex, then it's okay for some reason.
Smart.
This one's still
rating.
rated R though.
Yeah. It's a hard R.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in the language.
Mm-hmm. So there's a Cuban guy,
Johnny Tapia, and
he is muscling on the ecstasy game for the Russians, who like the Russian mobs own the clubs. There's a distribution thing there. He's smuggling the ecstasy in from Cuba, I guess, because you have to make it in Cuba. And
it's from Amsterdam, isn't it?
Oh, it is from Amsterdam.
Yeah.
You're right.
I think the Russians are bringing it in from Amsterdam, and then he's taking the money out to Cuba.
I see.
So by killing the Russians, he now owns like almost the whole operation.
But the scam is that Johnny Tilapia owns a mortuary, and he's smuggling the cash in the coffins and the drugs in the bodies. Which they just have a lot of they just love this idea. Which I didn't look it up. It feels like this actually could have been a scheme at some point. Like it kind of reeks of like a screenwriter read a New York Times article at one point. It was like, oh my god, like that's crazy because it facilitates the aforementioned morgue scene where Martin Lawrence gets actually accidentally dosed, and another chase scene where there's it's not a hearse, but it's like a freezer truck full of bodies that are just being thrown out on the highway.
I thought it was I thought that was like a hilarious reprise of the earlier scene where they're throwing cars at him. I was like, let's do the same scene again, but throw bodies instead.
Bodies.
Yeah.
Those are all male. So
yeah, and also they were all fat people apparently.
Yeah, because that's how you hide the drugs. No use hiding drugs in a skinny person.
Yeah,
I like that line where it's like you left a bunch of dead fat people on the road.
It's just inefficient.
That's a Joey Pants line, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. The first chase sequence in this movie, I was like, I gotta go brush my teeth, but I gotta, figure out the rest of the movie. I said to my girlfriend, tell me if I miss anything. As I'm like, I'm gonna be gone for like a minute. She's like,
only the biggest action sequence.
No, she's like, nope. Like, there's chase sequence is still happening. Like, I left like somewhere between where they started driving and when they started dropping the cars.
Oh yeah,
and it was like, no, like you're good.
This is a great sequence though.
It's awesome
as far as action movies go.
Yeah, it really is. But the important thing to note is that Martin Lawrence gets shot in the butt.
He does get shot in the butt.
Oh, yes, that's right. This happens in the very start of the movie. Yes.
My favorite part of this was when Gabrielle Union was like trying to take control of the vehicle, and then she was pushing the guy out, and he was hanging onto the driver's side door, but then the door hits like a a pillar or something, and like he gets crushed and it flies off. That was hilarious.
There's a lot of bodies just flying in this
my
movie.
God, yeah. Lots of crazy explosions where the bodies like they fly way further than you think they would. Maybe they would do that in real life.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
Shit, I don't know.
That one explosion scene at like in Cuba.
Yes. Oh yeah,
at Tapia's mansion or
with the little remote control
beachside mansion. All the guards who are playing soccer just get blown up.
Yeah,
and just like
they fly like 3 stories.
It's really funny.
Yeah, they look like fireworks themselves, just like flipping around.
It's insane, and like the lead up, it's entirely absurd. So they're doing this whole raid, which we'll get to like how they get there in a little bit, but there's maybe 3 minutes of this movie where we're just watching this guy drive this little car. And he's like left, up, like it's harder than it looks, and it's this thing, and it's there's classic, it's by a pool, there's some Michael Bay girls in bikinis foreground shots so we can get the exposition of this remote control car driving, and nobody's noticing it. And if you've driven a remote control car, especially one that looks that rugged, they're loud as shit.
Yeah, it was huge.
And I was like, what's happening? And he's like, you don't see me, you don't see me, you don't see me.
I mean, now we'd have that exact same scene, except it would be a drone from the Sharper Image.
Right,
or whatever,
right. But it's like, oh, what's going to happen with this? Like, we spent 3 minutes establishing this car getting there, and then it interrupts a soccer game. Like, he's trying not to be seen. And then, like, all the guards just gather around it, and it turns out it's just a bomb.
It was, like, such an elaborate thing. He, like, drives it underneath the car. Like, it's like this whole thing. Yeah, you're right.
But the payoff is great, because it's like it's a Looney Tunes. Like, they fly as if they're made of paper mache.
Yeah. And it kicks off a pretty great scene.
Oh, yeah.
But let's get back to this, this crazy road chase. So, Marcus's sister Sid is a DEA agent, and so she's kind of like already mixed up in this whole plot.
She's undercover.
Yeah, she's undercover.
Yeah. As far as Marcus knows, like earlier in the movie, that she just pushes papers to the DA, but turns out that she's undercover and is in the field and mixing it up with everybody else.
So she's like, supposed to be exchanging all this money, and while she's going to the drop, they get hijacked by this Haitian group of dudes,
right,
that are insane.
Deus ex Haitians.
Yeah. And it kicks off this awesome like highway chase where there's just eventually the Haitians like commandeer this truck, this huge semi that's carrying a bunch of cars, and they start throwing cars out.
Yeah.
And there's just like so many awesome shots where it's like just like crazy explosions, cars rolling. There's a scene where like, for whatever reason, Martin Lawrence's head is outside the car, like, oh my God, as the car like flies over them. And like, I want to like go back and watch this shot again because I don't know how they did it, but it looks like it goes right past his head. And it's just like a great shot for this.
There is some DNA in this sequence for Mad Max Fury Road. There is some, like, this is what you can do. Which, my favorite quote about that, and I think it applies to this sequence, is I think it was a Soderbergh quote where he was just like, I don't know how people weren't killed, and I don't know how they're not still making it.
Yeah. But that is a great sequence.
It's so
probably
cool.
Probably one of my probably my favorite in the movie. Yeah.
So when you've been shot in the butt, you should probably go with your open wound, take a dip in your above ground pool immediately afterward, right?
Totally.
That seems sanitary to me.
Doctor's orders.
Yeah.
Well, you see, the chlorine's a disinfectant.
Oh, okay. But then the above ground pool is destroyed by the dog, which no one took the time to secure. And then he's thrown into the ocean, so even more sanitary.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a staph infection for sure.
Yeah, that seems like a bad move.
At very least,
Yeah,
staph infection.
infection.
And then apparently he's tried to have sex with his wife because he finds out that ever since he got shot in the butt, he could not get an erection.
Right.
And then he tells Will Smith, he's like, you shot me in the butt 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And he's freaking out that he hasn't been able to get an erection since 3 days.
Yeah.
Like the wound is still, open. And he said he's been taking Viagra like Skittles for 3 days. And still hasn't got it.
Six at a time.
At this point, you should just go into the hospital right now if you've been taking Viagra for 3 days with an open wound and you can't get an erection.
I'm not quite sure how Viagra works, but
Yeah, I don't think that's it.
I think it has something to do with blood flow, and when you have an open wound, I think it's probably a bad idea.
He's just trying to get that quality time.
He wants that quality time.
By the way, his wife is in exactly one shot of this movie.
And she's in a bikini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I got shot in the butt, I'd be worrying about having to poop into 2 toilets at the same time. Then my sex life for just a second.
But then, like, what about these 2 toilets?
Yeah.
I do like that Mike shows up with a donut.
He's just trolling him.
It's because he cares for them. Bad boys for life.
That's right. Yeah.
Even if it means giving you a hemorrhoid donut.
Hemorrhoid donut.
Yeah, there's that funny shot where Mike looks at the yearbook and he sees this photo of Will Smith with headgear and everything.
And they're obviously photoshopped on big thick glasses. It's awesome though.
And that's where he's like, bad boys for life. Yeah.
I just think if you get shot anywhere, 3 days later, you should not already be scared that you'll never be able to have an erection again.
Yes.
Give it a week at least.
I think there's
heal.
other problems going on there.
It could be a PTSD from being shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's just what stood out to me from this film. So
you're saying
I've now explained it.
So you're saying you don't want to take a dip in Marcus's pool?
No, I do not, because there is blood
and a dog swimming in it.
Yeah,
not
good.
Also, just above ground pools.
Yeah, and they live right there next to the ocean. So what's the point?
Well, it's a canal. It's definitely not.
Yeah.
That's not swimming water.
And it costs $3,900, Tyler.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a
$100 pool?
Yeah.
Above ground.
I know. That seems like a lot of money.
I did love his daughter being like, well, how much do the good pools cost?
Yeah, he's just the worst dad.
He's not good.
Oh, man.
I did there's something kind of wonderful in this movie about, we're talking about there is character development. I think that it gets more into the relationship.
There better be. It's fucking long as hell.
But for a sequel, typically it's you already know what the relationship is. We don't need to add this element. And I think adding Sid in and Will Smith actually being playing this super ego, super confident guy. I think that Will Smith is from Fresh Prince. I love it when he's scared to find out what he doesn't want Uncle Phil to know what he's up to. Mm-hmm. That's he's where he's trying to be super charismatic, but he's I can't, but I'm still trying to get away with something. That's peak Will Smith to me. Mm-hmm. And him actually being scared of Marcus finding out that they're dating, I think is the best part of this movie.
Yeah. That was fun. Him trying to be don't. This is not the time. You don't want to mess with this guy, man. Something's wrong with him. Don't.
Yeah. There's a scene where they're about to they've gotten Michael Shannon out of jail, and they're both sitting in a hammock, and Gabrielle Union's makes it clear that she's I'm just gonna tell him, and Will Smith's oh no, please don't.
Yeah. Both of these movies make me miss good Will Smith performances.
Yeah.
All his movies lately have just been not that great.
How dare you talk about Gemini Man though?
Or they're just they're just too
is
serious.
That Another Earth, or is that a different movie?
Hey, we saw Gemini Man in
120?
120 FPS, HD, 3D, IMAX, Dolby, something or other.
I wanted to be there. I just couldn't.
We went to a special theater and everything.
It was nuts.
We are cinephiles.
Like Michael Bolton.
Well, so, we talked about the Haitians
Yes.
in the last one. The last, big action sequence. And it leads to another crazy action sequence that I remember very vividly, where they go to one of the guys' house.
Oh my God, yes.
And they're in an insane shootout that I'm like, I mean, I don't know, maybe Tyler, I didn't get to watch all the special features, but like, how do they shoot something like that where it's like spinning around?
So this is one of the first real motion control sequences. So how this is actually shot, they're digitally stitched together when it goes through the wall there, and it's a camera pass that is the same every time. So it's on a track, and it's controlled by robots, basically, and so it's the exact same camera movement every time. And so you do that pass, you can do multiple takes, and then you're mirroring it on the other side, and then mashing it exactly so that then you can, at the frame, splice it. It is incredibly laborious to shoot, and even now it's kind of tricky to do. Back then, it was completely revolutionary.
Yeah, I remember being like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. Like, this is insane. Like,
And I want credit for that revolutionary pun. Fuck you.
I'm sorry.
It
was revolutionary.
Took me a minute. They were revolving.
Sorry, I was taking you literally there. I was like, yeah, you're right. It was revolutionary.
But it's a sequence that blew my mind in 2003.
Yeah. My high school mind, like, wow.
But it's also just kind of a bummer that they're like kind of shooting these guys for almost no reason.
Yeah.
And one of the guys is like, my brother, you shot my brother. It's like, damn.
Didn't you get the memo? Drugs are bad.
I know. That's like the problem.
Reagan told us so.
That's the problem with bringing it all the way down to ecstasy too. Is you're like, it's a party drug. Like, what is the harm here? Like, we really need to kill all these people? You know,
because they're cops. They gotta stop it.
Yeah, they gotta stop it. It's like
they're the tactical narcotics team or whatever it is.
TNT. They know drama.
These they know drama. Yeah, we can't let these teenagers and 20-year-olds have fun on a Saturday.
It's just, ugh. Anyways, yeah.
We got to kill these guys because otherwise people are going to have a fun Coachella.
No, but people are dying in the streets. They left that guy out
That's
there.
true. That one guy.
He died in an alley on an ecstasy overdose.
That's right.
We can't have that.
We can't have
Not in Miami. This is TNT.
Yeah. They're not using coffins for the proper use. They're not supposed to go in the water like that. They're not built for that.
Anyways, they kill all the Haitians. They shoot one guy point blank in the eyeball.
Yeah, that guy was being stupid. He's like, I got you, looking through it.
Yeah, you never put your eye up to a hole.
He was
ever.
asking for that, I think. Yeah,
That's just solid advice.
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, if there's a peephole, go ahead and wall that one up. Either there's a good reason that it shouldn't be there.
Yeah. You don't want to know what's back there.
You know, when I go to the
It either should be a
optometrist-
window or just not a peephole.
I'm going to be thinking of this scene next week when I go to the optometrist where they do that like air puff thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be like, no.
Don't shoot me.
So the Haitians are dead.
They're all dead.
Yeah.
They can't get answers from him except for the one guy who's still
And
alive.
Johnny Tapatio thinks that that the bad boys were trying to rob him. They just thinks that they're a bunch of gangbangers trying to rob
they think they're
them.
like hoodlums. Like,
They say that many times.
They say that many times.
So stupid. There's so many scenes that could have just been cut out. like this whole long exterminator thing where they're like,
Oh my God, yeah. So there's a problem that Johnny Tapia has at his house where he has so much paper money around that the rats have gotten in and started eating it.
Yeah.
It's just too much cash.
But without the rats, we wouldn't have the greatest scene in the entire film, where we finally learn what it looks like when rats have sex. just what we always wanted to know. And Martin Lawrence gives commentary in the whole thing.
He does.
He's like, they fuck like us. They're going at it. And some poor prop dude or whatever had to make these like rat puppets that are like having sex in missionary position. This is an important scene, you guys. We gotta have this.
Without this scene, there's no movie. It just doesn't make any sense without.
They spent thousands of dollars to make these rats fuck.
And it's like it's like a 2-minute scene of him like going on about these rats.
Cut away. They don't cut away.
Well, there's cutaways to like Mike going around the house like, oh no, what's happening? Like,
he's like, they're fucking. Look, they're fucking.
They fuck just like us.
Yeah, I think he says that.
He's pile driving her. Yeah, it's again, when we saw this movie, we were the target audience.
I probably laughed out loud.
Yeah,
a lot.
I probably thought it was great.
I was just like, it's really going there, you know? Like, it just doesn't seem like that's part of the same movie.
I know, it's like such a weird moment.
Well, it gets into like the weird, racially insensitive jokes that happen in the other Transformers movies where like Michael Bay thinks that like, I have comedy beats. Watch me do that. Like, remember how much people love those rats having sex?
Yeah, and at the time, like the scene with the cameo moments with Michael Bay, like they try to steal a car from Michael Bay, which one at that moment I probably was like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
And then the very next thing is like they
Dan Marino's in the car.
Dan Marino, yeah.
Dan Marino.
That probably also kind of went over my head. I was like, I know who he is.
Dan Marino would be in like any movie. He's in like so many movies, right?
But now when I see that, I was like, oh god, this is like first it's a cameo from the director, then they steal it from Dan Marino. Like,
and then literally the next car. Well, they were on Cameo Drive, so.
Excuse me, it's pronounced Cameo Drive.
Yeah, Cameo.
Oh man.
Well, and this movie is also brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft.
And Pepsi.
And Pepsi. There is product placement everywhere.
There's even times where like the Miller Genuine Draft billboard or truck is like reflected onto another surface.
Yep.
So like you don't actually see it, but you see the reflection in the car next to Martin Lawrence's face or something.
Which is not the most crass product placement Michael Bay's ever done. That goes to the Transformers movie where all of the product placements come to life.
The Mountain Dew vending machine. It's like, here, I'm going to shoot cans at you. I like that, though. That was
do
funny.
the do. Yeah, so we haven't got to how Sid gets captured.
Mm-hmm.
She still wants to stay in. Johnny Tapia takes over the Peter Stormare's operations with basically this is actually kind of sinister and kind of like crime families have families too. He basically threatens Peter Stormare and with his wife and kid, and he's like, "Yeah, my daughter goes to school with your son. I know who the fuck you are." And Peter Stormare is like, you're gonna regret this, whatever it is," but he signs it because it's not worth it at that point, which is maybe the most reasonable scene in this movie.
Well, he had been threatened with also his partner in a fucking like garbage can.
Oh yeah, he doesn't. Oh, that's right.
Of gunk. He's just dead.
Yeah, they just chopped up.
That was fast too. There's a surgeon in there.
Yeah, I know. He was in the scene right before that, and they're like, "Come over here," and then next thing you know, he's in a fucking.
They chop him up, and then do they have they had somebody else? Like they both had people in cans.
No, they brought out a can that I guess was gonna be for him. If
I see. I was just like, there's just another guy in there. That tracks.
No, that's his can.
Yeah. This is for you if you don't sign this piece of paper.
I just think like most of the comedy beats in this movie, like 75% of them are gay panic based.
Yeah.
It's funny because like we're implying that they're gay.
Right.
There's a whole Who's on First Circuit City situation happening, and I mean that was funny because of the like wordplay of it, but at the same time it's like, ugh,
that does carry over from the first film.
It does.
It's a tent pole of the Bad Boys franchise.
I mean, there's just like so many of them. Even when he is questioning the 15-year-old boy that's there to take the daughter on a date, they're like, I think they ask him, "Are you a virgin?" And he's like, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "You better keep it that way." And then Will Smith's like, "Have you ever made love to a man?" And the guy's like, "No."
And Will Smith's like, "Do you want to?"
Like, what kind of question is that? Yeah.
That probably, for me, I think that's the best scene in the whole movie.
It's great.
It's hilarious.
It's so good.
But a 15-year-old boy, have you ever made love to a man? Like, what the hell?
So the scene kicks off when it's somebody come up to pick up Martin Lawrence's daughter for a date, and Martin Lawrence answers the door with a golf club because he's just trying to intimidate him, and then it's Mike, and then they have a little fight or whatever it is, and then they come together just to harass to scare this boyfriend into
I did
behaving.
like how deadpan the boyfriend was, though. He did not really fall for it. He was just like, yes sir, no sir. Like he didn't get freaked out, which is unusual.
Awesome how it shot because
Mike is like, you're gonna kill a guy? You ever kill a guy?
These movies do make a lot of visual jokes of Martin Lawrence being short.
Sure.
Because most of the scene is shot from over the shoulder of this 15-year-old kid looking down at both of them. Like, his kid is super tall. Yeah. And it makes it hilarious. And they're like, yo, like, he says, I'm 15. He's like, you look like you're 30. You're fucking 30.
Height-wise, but he was clearly a teenager. Yeah. Like, so silly.
You don't have any ID?
Yeah, I thought that scene was hilarious.
Yeah. I thought, until we get to the crazy like ecstasy Martin Lawrence scene, I thought that he was kind of like tempered down a little bit more than the first movie, where he just felt like it just felt like he was yelling and like saying crazy stuff the entire movie. This one, like, he didn't seem quite as insane, but then he gets his full like all out ecstasy moment, which actually was kind of funny. I don't know.
It was. Well, I think I love my favorite part about that is that so they find drugs and cash in the morgue.
Yep.
Right. Then they're like, okay, we got to go get this warrant. We got to go to Joey Pants's house.
Yeah.
And then Will Smith realizes that Martin Lawrence has been accidentally dosed with ecstasy because as they're getting the drugs out of the body, some pills fly into a cup.
Yeah. 2 pills somehow fly out of a Ziploc bag, where if the Ziploc bag was open and you were throwing the bag of pills, all of them would fly out, not just 2 that then magically land in the water glass as he's filling it up because he puked 2 times by having to see the dead body.
Yeah, Martin Lawrence hates rats and corpses, apparently. And so they show up and they need to convince the chief because at this point he's done with them. Rightfully so, because they've killed a lot of innocent people and not made any progress in the case. But Martin Lawrence has been dosed with ecstasy, and so he is just all about touching things, touching people.
And I love like Will Smith trying to like pretend like nothing's wrong the entire time. And he's just like, holy shit! Oh no! No! Look at this camera! Like,
well, and they have like this old ass digital camera, which was, I'm sure, high tech at the time. And my favorite part about this scene is Joey Pants just being like, oh my god, like, oh god, like, and he's going through it, and it's like in reaction, like he's so taken by the photos, he's not noticing what Martin Lawrence is up to. It's a classic sitcom scenario, but it's fucking funny.
He's next to that like Buddha, and he's like showing his like nipples, and he's like, Mike, take the photo, take a photo of me. And then he like goes upstairs.
I did like that Joey Pants immediately called Poison Control to get advice.
Right.
Yeah. That was actually very nice.
Smart.
Yeah.
That's why he's captain.
That's right. Yeah.
That was kind of that scene goes on for a long time.
It does.
But I was appreciating the play between Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. It was fun.
Oh, that's right. I started talking about Peter Stormare to get to the point where Sid was trying to get him. Oh. And then when he absorbed the business, then she started meeting with Johnny Tapia. Mm-hmm. And that's how she basically meets with him, tries to keep it going. It's like, the DA is like, it's even bigger case now. And then she gets kidnapped because she gets made.
Yeah, I like that scene when, Johnny Tapia and Sid are like in the ocean talking business.
Yes.
And she's like, I don't know if I should get involved with you. And he's like, yeah, you should. And then she's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And he's like, great. And then just falls back and goes underwater. And that's the end of the scene. I was like, what kind of weird? That's a weird way to act. Right,
it was a baptism.
Usually it's a handshake, but
yeah. He's like, sounds good to me.
Well, Justin, I just think you might have been conducting business wrong.
I guess. All business is done in the ocean, nowhere else. And when we're done, we both go underwater to seal the deal.
That's actually how I'm now blanking on his name. That's how Aquaman's contract was signed.
Oh yeah.
Jason Momoa, yeah.
But the whole movie has to escalate way higher than than the previous movie. So now they have to go to Cuba.
Yeah, Sid's been taken to Cuba.
and they need to work with like Navy SEALs and all this stuff.
Well, Navy SEALs who are off the grid.
That's right.
The sick part about that is like the captain's like, yeah, we can't help you.
Yeah.
And then everyone in like a 25,000 mile radius is like, hey, I'll help.
Yeah.
Hey,
there's literally
you
nothing.
Something crazy? Hey, I'm crazy. It's so sick. There's like Navy SEALs and like the SWAT team. They're like, we got you, brother. It's like, all right, yeah.
My cousin's there in Cuba. He lives
Right.
across the street from Tom. And he's got a bomb and
And they're already digging a tunnel.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I've never been to Miami. Maybe it's like that.
Maybe they were all on ecstasy. You know?
Yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, man, I'd love to help you, man. Oh, it sucks, bro.
Yeah, and then they have.
I'll help you.
Oh, sorry,
I
man.
guess it's implied, but they never really say, like, we're all law enforcement officers and we understand it's your sister and so we're going to help you out. They just kind of are like, well, I'm down.
Maybe it's like a post 9/11 thing where they're just like, we stick together.
I think that's kind of what they're trying to say. Also, it's some of the DA that realize that they're the ones who got her in that position.
Sounds like you're going to do something crazy.
Yeah.
We're in. Yeah. We're going to have this elaborate plan.
Where we're going to get an RC car and blow up 5 guys.
Yeah, one of us is going to pretend to be a Gran Asado merchant, but inside that little cart is going to be an RC car.
We're also going to steal a bunch of iguanas and cats.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Oh my god, yeah. First step of the plan, throw a bunch of cats over the wall.
Cool.
That'll distract them.
It's like, you, Jimmy, go get a bag of cats.
Also, like, we're gonna say that's what the plan is, and then also we're gonna take the time to shoot that scene because we need to see someone throwing these things over the wall.
Also, how do those iguanas land? They just chuck them over a wall.
I almost forgot about that
With
scene. That was so
military
funny.
precision.
Yeah.
Those iguanas are everywhere in Miami, though. Like, when I went there, you walk anywhere, and there's, like, just these gigantic, awesome-looking iguanas, so...
The iguanitas.
Step one.
Also,
distract the motion sensors with cats.
And the motion sensors are the same motion sensor design that are in The Rock.
Oh, yeah.
Which I kind of can't believe that the motion sensor design hadn't changed at this point.
And then, yeah, they also, like,
Cuba, it takes a couple.
Oh, that's right. Oh, absolutely.
They also planned this, like, fake construction accident to stop this truck, and then also, like, hired ladies to go, like, talk to the truck driver.
Yeah, right.
So he's originally like, what the fuck with this thing?
Oh,
and then,
ladies.
I guess we're stuck here for a little while, huh, boys?
yeah, get in the back.
By the way, those women are credited as Cuban streetwalker.
Oh, good.
Nice.
Perfect.
And because
They did walk on the street.
they
as
did
far as
Wow,
I saw.
that's
and the camera is low.
That's true.
Camera is very low. Point it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know what?
They're also
Before we get into this whole mayhem thing, we can skip over a scene that I actually very much like, where right before Marcus gets after he's been dosed, but before he's feeling the effects of the ecstasy, the 2 Latin cops that are kind of like their rivals, they're outside, and he's being taken back, for this autopsy with the aforementioned dead bimbo, as they call it.
Yep.
And it's not the best shot in the movie, but Mike is calling out to them, being like, crash the ambulance into the building right fucking now.
Yeah.
Like, we need a distraction, and they're like, I got rode up last week. No, I can't do it. Like, sorry, Mike.
We
like,
have administration issues.
yeah. And so, like, I love them having the argument of being like, no, like, crashed into the building. Like, I really can't do it. Like, I got priors.
yeah.
It just shows more, though, that's like their counterpart of a different race, because that's probably the same bullshit argument that Mike and Marcus would be having were they in that situation.
Yeah, the banter between those 2 cops and Mike and Marcus were kind of fun.
Yeah,
they're like ripping each other back and forth.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. The part they're like, hey, it's low tide, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Shouldn't you guys be picking up your family members at the beach? He's like, hey, that's low, man.
Yeah, that was funny.
They're like, you always gotta go racial. It's just sad, man. And then they immediately make another racial joke.
Yeah. Also, in that sequence, like they went and placed all the cameras, right? And the next scene, the 2 Latin cops are dressed in construction workers, and they went and got everything.
Yeah, I don't know.
The guy just shot. That's actually a fun scene too, where Johnny Tapia kills the guy who let them in exterminators, and then his mom comes out and she's like, "Johnny, what happened?" He's like, "Oh, he shot himself." And she's like, "Oh, make sure you write a nice letter to his mom."
Yeah, because there's this whole like family element with Johnny Tapia, and he's got this daughter. And this one time she comes in and she's holding a dress and like, "Don't I look beautiful in it?" And then the guy goes behind him and he's like, "You're lucky you're my cousin. I'll shoot you right now."
And then he also tells her that pink is prettier than blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to show that this guy cares about his daughter and will F up his own employees, but like the punchline is that she's like chubby and the guy's that's why he's saying she's not pretty, but you could have easily just like instead made it like a really, really ugly dress or something, but no, well.
Also, if he cared about his daughter, why would he send her to like Pablo Escobar Elementary?
I know.
Like all the rest of the little drug dealer kids.
Yeah. What? And they like bring her along for like, and she's like right there up until the
I do like that
explosions are happening.
The guys with Marcus and Mike make a point of like, capturing the daughter and the grandma and like getting them out so that they're not really involved in all the explosions and Hummer driving.
So they do like knock her out.
We're not going to kill your mom.
Yeah.
They do knock her out with the butt of their gun though.
She apologizes to shoot
not the daughter, but the mom.
Yeah, the mom.
The mom shoots a gun at them.
She's
a shotgun.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
So,
she could have hurt herself.
Yeah, that's true.
So this elaborate plan with RC cars, cats, and iguanas. We know that the plan goes off the rails if the Cuban military shows up. Yep. And that takes about 5 minutes.
Yeah. They have all this stuff like, we gotta blow up this security building if we don't do it, we're fucked.
The movie spends about 10 minutes telling you, like, we gotta do all this shit. And it's like, we know the Cuban military is gonna get involved.
Also, they had time to like dig a tunnel underneath
Two tunnels.
the compound.
2 tunnels. A tunnel that goes into the backyard and then a tunnel that goes to his escape tunnel.
And their safe house is right across the street.
That's the last place that they would look.
I know. I was like,
very sure it's the first place they look.
Yeah, they even call it out like, "Whoa, what's the deal with the safe house across the street?" And they're like, "It's fine." I'm like, okay, I don't know. I think you only had one location.
This leads to one of the most insane action sequences that I think I can remember.
Yeah.
Also, a 20-minute long advertisement to buy a Hummer.
Yes. Yeah. Have you ever wanted to drive through a house with no problems?
Yeah. Almost like over a house.
And then they go through that favela or whatever.
Oh my God, that's so fucked up.
And none of the people are dying.
They had to have killed a million babies and women.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're driving through a whole village, and there's just this aerial shot of it just exploding.
I think what they did is like,
there's no like stray dogs running out.
There's like
there's stray dogs in there.
Yeah, there's like a side mention of like, they use these places to make cocaine or whatever. So there's lots of things that'll blow up. But I'm like, they use all these places? I think there's people living in these houses. And, that was really fucked up.
So,
no care for anyone.
Everything's gone off the rails. There was, like, 30 people that came with them. And then it just turns out there's, like, 4 people in this Hummer.
And the way to get away from the Cuban military, for some reason, is to drive to Guantanamo.
Get me to Gitmo.
Yeah, get me to Gitmo. Yeah, their plan is to just show up on U.S. soil and hope for the best.
Care if they're American. If you drive your Hummer into Gitmo, you are instantly dead.
Yeah.
They will kill you no matter what.
Right.
Like...
Yeah, they should have been.
But especially 2003.
No
way.
fucking way.
It doesn't matter who you are. Like
they don't want you to like find out what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about your secrets. It's not
like,
about diplomacy. It's about the secrets.
In 2003, like people were still so fucking scared. Like I thought NYPD was gonna kill me. Like in 2004, like they pulled a gun on me. Like everyone was terrified.
Yeah. But so they.
This leads to my favorite scene in this movie because they're stuck in a minefield and they establish this by having an iguana blow up. Hopefully, it's not one of the ones that they threw.
This was definitely this final scene was definitely one that I recall like geeking out about with friends like for weeks after.
I don't think I know how landmines work after seeing this
I don't think that you've gotten any further insights into how they actually work.
I'm not sure they work.
Do they fly up in a spiral like that? Like
But Eliz, It would be cool if they did.
It would be.
It'll look fucking dope.
But my favorite part about this is that so they're on the minefield. All the Marines at Gitmo are just like, well, like, let's just see how this plays out.
They're like, don't move. Whatever you do, don't move.
And then it's established in a minefield, and then Gabrielle Union, she's like, I'll set my gun down.
This was
right. She's like, right next to that mine, and she says it aloud.
Right next to the landmine standing next to you.
Why does she
It's like
say it
2
out
feet
loud?
away from your left foot ish.
She says it aloud and then throws the gun
In slow
and then,
motion.
And then we get 2 minutes of establishing where it's going, what's happening. There was no reason for her to expose where she's gonna what's happening here.
Yeah, I'll put my gun down right next to this. It's so stupid.
And that was my favorite thing. It's even already in slow motion, like right next to the boy.
It's like, why does she gotta like explain it like that? It's for all the dumb people watching the movie that are like, what's she doing? Why would she put her gun down?
Why would her gun explode like that?
Yeah.
Did she throw it into a fire?
I already forgot they're in a landmine situation.
We just established it with blowing up an iguana. We already showed you. Anyway, so that's the aforementioned landmine flies up, kills the guy, then Marcus shoots a dude in the head.
Yeah, Marcus this is great. So there's a callback to the like slow motion bullet scene in the beginning.
Yeah.
Where like Mike shoots and hits Marcus in the butt, as we talked about. This one, Marcus shoots and it goes like right past slow motion, past Mike's head and into the head of Johnny Tapia, and he's like totally dead.
Yeah.
He's totally super dead, but he falls backwards like, I'm dead.
Like, no, he's closing the business deal on life. He just falls
exactly.
back.
Yeah, and he's like, and as he falls backwards and lands on a landmine and then blows up. And you see like half of his body go
only the
flying.
top half blows up into like 5 pieces, but then the legs and torso are still like
Only
intact.
the Tapia half.
The legs are still there. That's amazing.
Get out.
That's amazing. And I just remember thinking like, oh man, all those slow motion bodies exploding and stuff were so awesome.
Yeah.
And then they make out over the landmines.
Yeah. I was like, what?
I feel like there's an alternative shot. This is again the James Bond thing where it's just like, oh, like now I'm gonna make out at the end of this movie in a dangerous situation. But I thought there was an alternative ending to this movie where they all just crack some MGDs. And watch.
They're not even drinking MGD at the pool in
know.
the final scene. Like, what?
That would be
never
for
gonna be.
Fast and the Furious. They would be like, let's get some Coronas. We're all family.
It's time for Corona Family Time. Sponsored by Corona.
Find your
Family
beach.
But the important thing is that he rebuilds the above ground pool, which is then immediately destroyed by the dog.
But
Dog, that
in
damn
the
dog.
exact same way.
This is human error. I mean, don't tie your dog up.
Well, who ties up the dog with a chain so thick that it can tear apart all the pipes of the pool and like?
I mean, it looked like it's tied up to the pool, which is like a dumb. Well,
Right.
why? Don't be
Right.
stupid.
Don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid, Marcus.
Don't be stupid twice. all that Viagra caused some brain damage.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot. During the ecstasy moment, he does get a boner.
He does. Oh yes, problem solved.
And he's like, "Take me home right away."
and then he was like,
Call the wife.
He was like,
on the way.
maybe drugs aren't so bad. Maybe I feel bad about killing all these people.
Oh man. Well,
I think it's that time.
that's Bad Boys 2, you guys.
Yeah.
We did it. Do you have any? I'll
kids,
start
I
checking.
do, yeah. So one of the sons was the same. He's the one that's like a gospel singer now, Scott Cumberbatch. And
Oh, right.
Praise,
Cumberbatch,
whatever.
that's
Quincy. The other boy was recast and not credited. And then
Yikes.
the daughter now obviously is significantly older. So she's Bianca Bethune. She is one of the stars of Switched at Birth.
Oh.
Yeah. And then Johnny Tapia's daughter, her name is Alyssa Mullins Diaz, and she is a radiology tech, and she also worked at Bass Pro Shops and Regal Cinemas for many years in customer service, and she has a son, and not that it matters, but she is skinny now, so whatever, that guy was commenting about her was no longer
Misinformed.
Yeah.
That makes me feel really old.
That she's a radiology
That she's
tech
that
and
she's
a mom.
That makes me feel very old.
Well, Tyler,
How many?
You got a rating?
Miller Genuine Drafts would
Nice.
you give Bad Boys 2? I think I'm gonna go 6 MGDs. I think that there's a lot of stuff.
That's up from last week.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff in the. Well, I have fond memories of this movie, but it also felt incredibly dated. And there's parts where the action was just like, wow, action has really evolved and become much smarter, because just the quick cuts of no sense of geography, no sense of what's actually happening, got really boring for me. And I was pretty surprised by that, actually. Because I make no illusions that I don't love this type of movie and don't love a fun action movie, and it feels like it's almost been 20 years since it's been made. But that being said, it's kind of incredible how it's this style that is so iconic, and even just the way the movie's colored, the way the movie's shot, that it's been so much imitated, but it's also kind of cheap. Like I was having a lot of complicated thoughts about this movie of like, wow, it's revolutionary and iconic, but at the same time cheap and repeatable. So it's like, a 6.
All right. Not bad. I think I'm going to give this one, I think I went with a 5, which is one down from last week, just because I feel like maybe, I don't know. I'm torn on this. I have lots of like nostalgic memories with this movie, and my high school brain was like, this action is the coolest thing I've ever seen. But watching it now, I'm like, yeah, it's too long.
Yeah.
I see all of the things that now Michael Bay is notorious for in a bad way. But also some of the great things he's known for, like the action sequences are great. If I could just skip and watch all of the like set pieces, I'd probably be like, this is an 8 or something, like action is awesome. But there's just a lot of filler that I didn't really need. And I think that, the first movie is a little bit tighter as far as
that's
being
for sure.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to go with a 6.
I'm also going to go with 6 because I think I said 5 last week, and this one's definitely better. The fact that Martin Lawrence's problems in this movie is his relationship with Will Smith and being in danger and everything, and being a cop, basically, instead of the fact that my wife has not had enough sex with me, which was really annoying in the first movie. And we do get like some female characters in this one. They're a little bit better. I mean, nothing crazy. It's not like we could pass the Bechdel test or something, but at least she's there. She's self-sufficient. She's got a job. And it seems like they actually, her and Will Smith actually like each other. Like, they're not, it's not just like a fling.
They definitely have
not a bimbo.
Chemistry. And one thing that I did like about her character is that Martin Lawrence is like, oh, well, she doesn't know what she's doing. Like, she's in over her head. And that would be the plot point for a lot of movies. Like, oh, it's just the younger sister, she doesn't know. But what this movie has is the detail. Like, no, she's actually really capable. And Mike's the one who's like, no, like, you're wrong about your little sister.
Yeah. So that was good. But she still could have been better.
Yes.
And,
well, again, by the third act, she gets to sit in the back seat.
Yeah. But the action I really like. I mean, I like this kind of hilarious over the top stuff. So yeah, it was pretty good. Better than the last one.
Joseph, what about you?
I'm going to give it 4 MGDs.
Yeah.
Which, depending on how you like MGDs, is good or bad.
It'll get the job done.
I feel like they wrote all of the action scenes and then they wrote a story behind all of that.
Yeah, probably.
The action scenes were great. I mean, like throwing dead bodies at cars is pretty chill.
Yeah,
and then throwing cars at cars.
Yeah, I mean, it was like pretty exciting to watch. And just like watching the bodies, I feel like the bodies should have like, I don't know, maybe exploded a little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe some guts out there. But, or if they were filled with, or maybe they were on their way to get filled with drugs or something like that.
Well, if they were filled with money, then we could have had money explode out.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Or like just drugs coming.
I think a head pops off at one point. That's
yeah.
You
know what I mean? Maybe a little bit more of that. Some
more gruesomeness.
Yeah. Because just make it real. Like,
it's
like
already
if we're
rated
gonna
R.
go there.
Yeah, if you're throwing bodies out.
Yeah. And then the rat sex.
The rat sex.
Yeah.
The
Rated R for rat
sex.
sex.
The alternative rating system was how many rat sex scenes would you give this movie?
Oh, man. Well, all right. Well, you know what? This Friday, Bad Boys for Life in theaters. So we're going to be seeing that this weekend. And then,
do you think we'll see the yearbook signing moment?
I don't know. You know, I watched the trailer once, but then I've been kind of like...
I'm avoiding it. Yeah.
Avoiding it a little bit now because I don't want to be spoiled about any cameos or whatever might show up.
Sure. So, it's pronounced cameo.
Cameo Drive. I know Michael Bay is not back for this one, so yeah, that should be interesting.
Yep.
But we'll be talking about that next week.
And then the TV show is like on, or what? How many years later was that?
The TV show just premiered this year.
Oh, okay.
And there's currently a season 2 being worked on. This is a show actually that we do the music supervision on.
So it took a long time though for them to make a show based on like. You know, this supporting character. So
and it's all about Sid, and she's a former DEA agent who's now being recruited to help with the LAPD, and also Jessica Alba is in the show as well.
Oh, nice.
And it's on Spectrum if you want to watch it. I don't really know how you go about seeing that, but it was good enough that it got renewed for season 2 coming 2020. So
nice
this year. Cool. Well, Joseph. Thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me. This is great, man.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's always fun to hang out and have people on the podcast. Always a good time. But in the meantime, Eliz, where can people reach out to us?
Yeah, please email us at sequelrights@gmail.com and hit us up on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sequel Rights.
Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Give us your suggestions there. It's the best way to get a hold of us, aside from the social media.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys next week after we go to the theaters to see Bad Boys for Life.
Bad Boys 2, the soundtrack. Let's go. Yeah.
Who your name is? Where you from? Turn around. Who you came with? Is that your ass or your mama half reindeer? I can't explain it, but damn, so glad you came here. I'm still a sucker for corn, but no, I never changed that. Your body is baby mama, but where your brains at? Still the same cat when I was younger, running with bad boys. But now I'm older, that's all I'm running with bad boys. Here come another man, unlike no other man. Candy coated, switching every other lane. Y'all help me, won't you please help me? Eighth girl this week, and it's only Tuesday. I like the cocky, bow-legged ones, like white and Dominicans, Hispanics and Asians. He shaking for Nelly's son, Manolos, Mano-nos. I can't tell everybody and they riches when you do it well. Take it low, girl, go on, take it low. We can even do it slow. We can even do it slow. Take it where you wanna go. Either way you wanna go. Take that ass to the floor. Hop something, move something, shake your tail feather. Girl, go on, take it low. We can even do it slow. We can even do it slow. Either way you wanna go. Either way you wanna go. Take that ass to the floor. Hop something, move something, shake your tail.
And real girls get down on the floor. Now get that money, honey, act like you know.
Like you know.
Mama, I like how you dance, the way you fit in them pants into the floor.